Good evening, my fellow Toastmasters and guests. How's the Josh? How's the Josh? Great, great. So, as you all know, why I'm here to give you a session on purposeful feedback to powerful results. I will tell you a story, a simple one. I'll not take much of a time in this. That how I got driven to get into evaluation. One, I'm not a good impromptu speaker. Two, I need a lot of preparation. I used to have lot of filler words, so many pauses. And if you just randomly call me on a stage, my sentences would normally have 4, 5, I don't know, sometimes 20 plus R's, arms, or like had long pauses. And this will improve by feedback, most importantly. And evaluation is such a thing that it is a combination of impromptu speaking and preparing the speech. So it comes somewhere in between. So when I saw in my term that there were so many people who were able to give such a nice feedback, evaluation, and like I used to wonder how can I do that, and that led me to even be a better speaker. So that's how evaluation will, when I went into depth, I started seeing how evaluation is there. So to know that to evaluate a person, you need to know what are the basic things that a constructive feedback holds, right? So before I begin, let me have a few perspectives of what a constructive feedback can be. Anybody? Yeah. Excellent. Anything else? Yes, perfect. Sorry? Perfect, perfect, more perfect. Yes. So constructive feedback, as all of them said, it is a combined thing. One, you always need to motivate the speaker. You don't drive away the person on the stage who's trying to learn. Everybody is here to learn. Nobody is perfect. We are just moving, taking a step ahead and trying to be perfect in that particular step that we take, right? So constructive feedback is basically a balanced thing of more of the improvement side, but in a very sugar coated way, like our Toastmaster mentioned, right? That is what starts with the foundation, like what is constructive feedback. Now coming to a particular evaluation in Toastmasters. So I will give you a few tips and tricks that I usually follow. I research so much, took help from so many mentors, right? I will help you with a few tips and tricks, starting with basic aspects of public speaking, right? So all of you here are here mostly for communication or public speaking, right? So first thing that I look in for a speaker are the pauses, the placement of the pauses in the speeches. So what are the pauses? Pauses are two types. One is short pause, one is long pause. So short pause is where when there is an end of the sentence or you want to begin a next sentence. So you give a little bit of pause, not too long enough to know what will be the next sentence and then continue with the good transition. And long pauses are there to exaggerate things. For example, oh my God, I did that, right? So to exaggerate, be it excitement, anger, agony, disappointment, anything. For those things, you need to know long pauses. So long pauses usually a speaker can have when a speaker is also not prepared for a long time. So whenever you're trying to evaluate, you need to evaluate in such an aspect that you need to analyze if a speaker is doing it on purpose or whether he or she is not prepared. That is one thing. Second is the most important thing in a speech is structuring of a speech, right? How do you usually structure a speech? Opening, body, and conclusion. Simple things. So what if I come and tell you that good evening, my fellow Toastmasters. My topic was so and so, and like I had so many stories to tell you, this, that, right? Doesn't add up anything. So whenever you're drafting a speech, it is important to have a good body, a good opening, good body, and good conclusion. So whenever a speaker is on the stage, you need to add and analyze such things. This anyway comes by practice, not an overnight thing. So you need to start listening to the speech. Then third is the transitions in a speech. So now you saw how opening, body, and conclusion. So any speech cannot just be like you write anything in the opening which is not connected to your body, nowhere related to anything. So there are few words or like end of the sentence that need to connect your next paragraphs, right? Whenever you write a speech or speak something. So those are the transitions in a speech. You need to observe if a speaker has those transitions in a speech, right? Then fourth is the most important thing, and a very common thing everybody observes is vocal variety, right? So we usually say, okay, as a speaker, you did not do well in voice modulation. So to go more depth and stand out in the crowd, what you can do is divide vocal variety in three segments, which is pitch, pace, and tone. So what is a pitch? Pitch is basically the frequency of what you speak. So I just asked you, how's the Josh? This is the high. So if I want to go slow and then I'm trying to say something and make you understand, I go low. So this is the pitch of the voice that a speaker should define in a particular sentence that comes within the story. Yes? Then pace. Pace is basically how fast, slow, medium you speak based on the sentence or the story that you have. Something if you want to exaggerate, so you usually go and like want to tell that and you want your audience to feel that emotion, you go slow in a very slow pace so that they take each and every word that you say. Or if you want to rush and say that yes, I want to do this and I want to make that heat, make your audience feel that heat, and then go with that faster pace. If you just want to normally speak, that is going to be your medium pace, which is your pace, right? Third is the tone. What is tone? Which we usually define as voice modulation. So according to the sentence that we have and how we modify according to each sentence, be it like question mark, exclamatory mark, like how would I do that? I don't know that sentence. Hush, did you know? Right? So I'm modifying according to the sentence. That is voice modulation. So if you want to stand out in a particular point of a voice modulation, you can go depth with pitch, pace, tone, observe these little things, and as an evaluator, you will definitely stand out. Another basic aspect is the body language of a person. So what do we generally observe? The hand gestures, the body, facial expressions, and the words that we speak. Most importantly, right? So this is the basic thing that everybody should observe. And when you have nothing as a feedback to give, a person might miss out on a few things of a body language. So not just when you say body language, not just the hand gestures, not just the body, not just the way you move, all these aspects come into the picture. And then that also connects to the usage of the stage. So I have seen so many people use this point in evaluation that generally we call it as usage of stage or staging basically. So how we expect a speaker to speak, whether you begin in the middle and then you move either right or left and tell a part of a story, then you move back to the other stage and tell a story and then come back and conclude. That's how we usually do. But a speaker can be equally good standing in one place, looks at everybody through their eyes, and that speech can still be great, right? So whenever you say and suggest that you need to use the stage, you can always look for this aspect before suggesting this. Another important thing is call to action. What is call to action? Can anybody tell me what is call to action in a speech? Okay, very close. Sorry. Okay, not quite there. Yes. Uh, no. I will tell you. So she was very close to the answer. So call to action in a speech is basically a strong message that a person as a speaker, because you're a speaker, you're to influence and motivate the audience. So every speech that you give should have one message, that strong content that you want to deliver to your audience. That is what call to action is. So many people miss out on this and do not look up as an evaluator, that they should also look out for call to action in a speech, which is very important, right? Then another aspect that you look out is for the audience engagement or the audience awareness. So what actually audience awareness or audience engagement? These are two different aspects. So one, audience engagement is basically where you ask the questions and audience reply you back, or have some picture displayed or pass on the paper. Basically, you're engaging with the audience. Simple words. But what is audience awareness is, for example, I am trying to give a humorous speech or I make a joke. So you have, whenever you're giving a speech, you should know if you're giving some punchlines, it may work or it may not work depending on the audience. So now you need to know if the audience starts laughing at a random joke that you say, and you continue with your speech. Doesn't make sense, that, right? So you need to wait for your audience to respond. Give them 5 seconds to take that joke and then you start. Be it same when an audience is applauding you or appreciating you for something, give them time. So that is called as the audience awareness that a speaker should always have. And that is one of the aspects that evaluator should look for. Okay. And apart from the ones, these main 8 aspects of public speaking, there are n number of aspects that a speaker should have, or not everybody should have, but these are the basics. But a person can be very good at a third person perspective, or like they can have a 360-degree speech. These are the aspects you can look out at a later time, when once you start evaluating. Like there are different call and response, audible variety, like different person can use different story models. So you can start exploring these verticals, what are these aspects, and then, because these are very rare to find, and like a speaker, if you usually go and like start writing, you will understand these different aspects. Okay. And another important thing as an evaluator, what you should do, you should penetrate deeper into the points, that recommendations that you write. Okay. One thing that I follow is, take example from any speaker's speech, and then I tried to put it as a point in the recommendation, give that, state that example, and I would tell them what if I was the speaker, what I would do better. So I use the word I would do better, right? Another very important aspect is you need to understand and improve grammatically. Okay, without grammar you will stand nowhere, right? It starts with very simple things: commas, full stop, exclamation marks, and how the sentence ends, where should be the pauses, all of this. Once you start writing, only if you know the grammar properly, you will be able to evaluate the speaker. So you need to get your basics strong, so that you will be able to evaluate the speaker. Okay. And one important thing, to every point, there can be n number of points that you might have written, right? But to add value to that point, what can you do? You can ask 3 simple questions. Okay, why is this point needed? Be it commendations or recommendations, anything. Why is this point needed, and how can it be improved, and what would you do better? So if you ask these 3 simple questions, you will be able to answer if this point is needed for a speaker or not, whether to recommend this or not, and whether to present it in your report or not. Simple questions. Okay. Am I going too fast? Okay, perfect. So another important thing that everybody should remember is that we are not just trying to find a negative point in a person's speech. Okay, we need to add value to the speaker. So never try to find a negative point. You will never be able to find a good one. So just think as a perspective that you as an evaluator should justify and add value to that speaker so that you will get really good report in the end. Okay. Another thing what I used to do when I started evaluating was make a list of all the positive words. Okay, what I can use. So in somewhere or the other, whenever you're writing evaluation, it will hit you somewhere. Okay, I can use this word. So if you have it handy and remember it on a regular basis, so that will be good. That's a good thing. And then along with positive words, you can also have a list of phrases or particular words that you can use, because our job is not to offend the speaker, rather to motivate. Whenever we have that motto, we will be able to do it in a right way. Okay. Okay, sometimes there are situations when you start evaluating a person, you will be able to understand that there are different aspects, and sometimes uh, the speech can be so average. This is in a purely in a contest perspective. Whenever the speech is very very average, there were times I will tell you that I had a page and it's literally empty. I couldn't write anything, neither could I write many good commendations nor recommendations. So the speech will be very, very average. So basically, you're puzzled. So, what to do in this case? So, a very simple, basic thing that we can follow is put yourself in the speaker's shoes and imagine that you're the speaker. So, I'm the speaker now. And what would I do better when if I was in the speaker and I'm giving the speech? This is the basic thing you can do, and you'll be able to end up getting at least 3 or 4 points for yourself in a report. Okay. One good practice that you can hold is there are plenty of videos available on YouTube. So you can just search for all the videos and start evaluating those speeches. First time you're not getting, second time you get. Don't get it for the second time. Do it for the 5th time also. You'll be able to get it, right? That is one I used to follow. And second is the most challenging thing that a person can do is evaluate icebreakers. Why do we evaluate icebreakers? So as a speaker, you're very very fresh and new to this Toastmasters, and because of which you'll not be able to focus on a lot of aspects which I already mentioned, right? So there'll be a number of mistakes a person can do in icebreakers. You'll have so many recommendations, but yet it's the challenge for the evaluator that you only have to pick 1 or 2 for an icebreaker. That's a challenge for you. So all these aspects come into the picture wherein you have to pick out, right? So try to evaluate more and more icebreakers so that you'll have so many points, yet you'll have to do only little bit work, right? And always, whenever you have a lot of points, try to pick a different point from the speaker. Okay, because many people will have like common things which I mentioned, like usage of stage. Many people have the same thing. So what different can you pick? Whenever you have a lot of points, try to pick out that point which you feel is the right, and stands out different. This is purely in a contest perspective. Okay, and always try to give one example to support your point. For example, I will be trying to mention about some pitch that a speaker did not do well. So always try and listen what the speaker and where it went wrong. If you get 4 5 points, write those 4 5 examples. Pick out one or maximum two and support your point with that example. That will give you a plus point in evaluation. Okay, and it's easier to say that we need to pick a point suggestion. So how do we actually suggest improvement? Can anybody tell me how can a suggestion be framed basically in an evaluation? Can I know who all have given evaluation till now? Okay, that's great. So any one of you, can you tell me how do you suggest an improvement point? Okay, what do you usually do? Correct. So to generalize, what can it be done is, first, while suggesting an improvement, first you point out the problem. Okay, so this is the problem that you need to focus on. Not again in a very calm and a positive tone, not not just like this, but you just point the problem, and then second, you show how it should be done as a speaker, how it can be done, right? Then third, you state the solution for the improvement. This is how an improvement point, basically a recommendation, can be framed. Okay. One of the best practices that you can have is start evaluating every person who comes on stage. That is the best practice you can have. But have those points handy, and whenever you go back home, try to reflect on those points. And if you need help, try to get help from the mentors and try to get your report corrected on those points. Discuss like, this was the problem, this is how I saw, how can I frame it better. Okay, as a Toastmaster, your mentor will not come to you, so you go, keep on bugging your mentor, call 100 times, message 100 times, do not get offended, call, keep on calling the mentors, get the report corrected, and what can you as an evaluator be improved. Okay, then always remember one, this point is very generic and most of the evaluators forget, is that evaluation is purely your perspective. Do not speak on behalf of the audience. So if I come with my report and I say, we all think that you did not do better on this, and and we also think that you could have done like this instead of doing what you have performed, right? Does it sound nice? No, right? So always it is your perspective, because audience can have different perspectives. For you, it might not be good. For them, it might be a good point. So never ever speak on behalf of the audience, because in a contest perspective, you will definitely lose marks if you speak uh, on behalf of the audience. Okay. One more important thing that you need to remember is, whenever you come on stage, if you're not prepared, this goes for even table topics or any other prepared speeches. If you come on stage, you're not ready, to not engage the audience or with verbal or non-verbal gestures, because if you do so, your time starts ticking, and for evaluation you have only 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So do not smile, do not do anything. If you're simply not ready, just stand, take a moment, take a deep breath. You can start whenever you want, you have the whole time, right? So take your time and then start with the point that you wanted to make. And last and the most important thing that a person can do is put up, yes, So you need to make this evaluation less intense, not too intense that a speaker cannot take so much. You need to make it less intense. So always try to put on a smile, try to make them understand that this can go this way, and a person can be always a very good speaker. Okay? Yes. So before moving on to the next topic, can anybody tell me what method of evaluation do you use in Toastmasters? Right. So I think most of you are aware of what sandwich method of evaluation is. Even outside, sandwich method, or they call it as burger method of evaluation. So this is nothing but basically, why is it called sandwich? I'll explain in a couple of minutes. Basically, you take the bread, that is your opening. So now I'm going to, along with this, I'm going to tell you how you have to present your report as a evaluator. Okay. So how to add value to the speaker. So first you have your bread, which is your opening. Then you moist the bread to make it nice. That is basically your suggestion of how your report is going to be presented. And then your moist is the areas of excellence that a speaker has, basically. So that much level only should be present. So you need not explain lot of good things and like suggest only a few things in a speaker. And then the stuffing that you have is basically the recommendation that you are going to give to a speaker. And then the bread on top is basically the summarization of what all you have done. This is basically, that is why they call it as sandwich method of evaluation. So basically, how you can do along with the report. Okay. First, you can start by grabbing attention of the audience and the speaker. Like either you can take from the speaker's speech and like be as creative as possible. I can cite you an example. So there was this one particular speech where a speaker, I think this was in division contest. So a speaker took out a red rose from his pocket. It's like he started smelling the, and like took out petals, and it's like, my life is like this, my life is this way, my life can be this way. The speaker, I was evaluating the speaker. Then I thought, what can be done better, what creative way can I add? So this made me realize that I can use the same method. Instead of normally using a quote or any other different thing, I'll pick out from his speech. So you can be as creative as possible. So I took out the same thing. Like, I have a beautiful flower with me, and this flower is basically an evaluation report that I'm going to give it to my beloved speaker, which represent, this petal represents the areas of excellence, this petal represents the areas of improvement, and the whole petal will give you the summarization. So you can be, I'm just giving you an example that you can be as creative as possible, anything. So try to pick out points like this from the speaker, be a keen listener so that you can be creative. Okay. So whenever you grab the attention and you open always on a positive note with what speaker has done better. So do not exaggerate too much, but grab the attention with a positive one. And then you describe your report. This should be done in a very, very minimal time. Okay. 10 to 15 seconds max. You should not explain what is sandwich method of evaluation, what how is the sandwich method of, you will lose out points. You'll have to focus on what your actual report has. So try to read in 10 to 15 seconds. Okay. Then you move to your commendations, which are the positive points. Okay. So you try to move around the stage and try to ooze out on those points with examples again, but not consuming too much of time. You would have already used a positive point in the opening. So you, I would suggest you can use at least two. Put points that a speaker has performed. Then comes your recommendations, which are very, very important. At least, of course, if a speaker you want to give a good feedback, yes. But in a contest perspective, yes, recommendations are very important, and you have a set of designated points only for the recommendations that you give. I will share the ballot sheet in a while so that you all can have a look at it and prepare accordingly as well if you want to participate in evaluation contest. Okay, and all the recommendations should be supported with examples again. Do not forget. Okay, and do not give too many examples that a person or the speaker and the audience might lose out on what you're trying to say. Just one or two maximum, that's all. And then last, uh, last before that, you need to have what are the improvements that can be done on your improvement part. You can suggest the speaker, okay, you can improve on these points by doing so and so things. Okay, not taking too much of time, but in a few seconds you can suggest this. Last and the most important part of a evaluation is summarization. It is really, really important. So many good evaluators miss out on summarization just because they wanted to focus on recommendation. In a contest, purely contest perspective, summarization also has a lot of points. So you need to focus, you need to entirely summarize just with the headings. Like if you are focused on vocal variety and something, I'll give you just one example. Just by focusing on your vocal variety or your usage of the stage, you can be a champion of international speech contest. So you need to include all the positive points, all the negative points, and the recommendation of the improvement, and that summarizes the whole report. And you can put out a point on a motivating note and conclude the evaluation. Okay, this is how a report of an evaluator should generally have. Okay, any questions here? Okay, that's okay. Then we can quickly move on to what are the, I have a segment called as what are don'ts in an evaluation. Okay, so what is a pure no-no as an evaluator that you shouldn't do? This is purely in perspective of Toastmasters evaluation. Okay, first thing, like I've mentioned, do not ever give a generalized evaluation. Be specific to the speaker. Give a specific points that a speaker needs for improvement. Okay, and one of the major things that you as an evaluator should focus is never ever say your personal story whenever you are giving out evaluation. Okay, because personal story draws attention to yourself, but here you want to focus purely on the speaker's perspective, so you never draw attention to yourself and do not give a personal story. Okay, as I already mentioned, do not try to find any negative points. Okay, and one of the most important mistakes that I used to do as an evaluator was I used to use a lot of negative words. For example, I can tell you, you you can you could have ran in a better way. This uses a negative tone and negative words, like you can't do it, right? It's a negative word. So do not use any negative words. Always try to use positive words so that you try to tone it and frame it in a better way to sound and give better motivation to the speaker to take up next speech, and that's a part of constructive feedback. Another important thing is never use ifs and buts in evaluation. There should be no ifs and buts. Even when Nitish was trying to introduce me, he referred to 2 points that had buts in his while introducing. So you should never, for example, you as a speaker, you can say that, oh, you excelled in this particular point, but you could have done better. No, this still makes draws to a negative tone, right? So never use ifs and buts in an evaluation. Okay. And one more important thing to focus is do not ever use high adjectives in the beginning. So what do I mean by high adjectives? So whenever I'm starting out an evaluation, so I might say, "Hey, Akanksha, you really excelled at this public speaking platform, and like you had so many great points. You had such nice body language and hand gestures. I was so mesmerized by your table topics today. But I have a few improvement points for you. This was my opening. I use so many words to praise her, but I am saying using but and like again going with the same flow. This is a big no-no. You don't praise too much in the beginning. Just have a good positive tone. Start with a good positive tone and you're good to go. Okay. And another important thing as an evaluator, do not be monotonous. So if you have your script with you and you start reading out the points without anything, like, hey, you might have very good points, but without using voice modulation, your report is nothing. So you, even if you don't move out on the stage and present your report, but try to use voice modulation, pause, use basic aspects of public speaking in evaluation, because end of the day evaluation is also a kind of speech, right? So try to use voice modulation. And whenever you're trying to find a point of improvement, do not even go too deep that a person is lost in that point and not be able to cope up with the second point that you're trying to say, right? Do not go too deep and too many examples to support the point. Okay. And never open blandly in an evaluation. Like, do not start exactly with, hey, good evening, Toastmasters. Never do that. Have a good opening with you with good set of quote or anything just how I mentioned. And then you introduce yourself and greet the audience and the speaker as well. And then that's how you start evaluation. Okay. And one of the important thing most of the evaluators lack in or like get lost is you have a confusion that a particular person, for example a voice model, for example I'm taking a voice modulation, so I might have very well used in a sentence, okay, but when I move towards the end I would not use any voice modulation. I simply read out the sentence without anything. Okay. So in this case, you have the point both in areas of excellence and areas of improvement. So in that case, do not include in either areas of improvement or the areas of excellence. So try not to use that point at all, because that can stand out. In at least in a contest perspective, you'll lose out a mark. Cannot be both in commendations and recommendations. Okay. And do not spend too much time on positive points that I already told you, and try to focus more on the recommendations part and suggestions that you're going to give as a speaker. Very important thing, do not ever rush with your summary. This is a as a in either in a club or a contest perspective, so you will have 2 to 3 minutes to finish a speech, right? So when you start, by the time yellow card is up, you should have already started summarizing your report entirely. So once you have to spend lesser than 1 minute or 1 minute 30 seconds in commendations, so that you have 1.5 minutes for purely for recommendations and exactly 1 minute to summarize. You'll have 30 seconds. Use that 30 seconds. Even if the red card is up, do not start rushing that this particular thing, that particular thing, and like wrap it up and finish. No, I will pass on the yes. Positive words, as in, do not see ifs and buts. That those are two different things. First, ifs and buts are used whenever you start saying that okay, if you could have done better, and but that shifts to a negative tone. So instead, toning it into a positive, you can say that, I could have done. I'm just giving an example. I would have done better if I was performing it in this particular way instead of using ifs and buts. So you can try to use word I, so that you'll know that they will know that it's your perspective. It's a very good point whenever you use the word I. Okay, hope that answers. You can pass along. You can have a look at the ballot sheet of an evaluation contest. Okay, so as it passes along, I'll try to tell you. Okay. As one of the most important things, some might be very good at remembering things, some might not be that good at remembering, like me. I don't remember anything. Like, I need a lot of practice. I'm that kind of person. So I always write down the each and every point in an evaluation, and it's completely okay to carry your paper in a while you're presenting in a club or a contest, and you can look at the report and you can explain, but don't just keep it in front of you and read. Just look at a point, have a glance, and then grab it quickly and then present it to the audience. That's how it can be, right? But you can definitely take the report and present. Okay. And also, like I mentioned, do not start explaining too much about the report. My report has so many things. My report has this, my report has that. No, 10 to 15 seconds maximum. Okay. Before it passes on and everybody sees the ballot sheet, I will try to tell you. Okay. So before that, let me ask you a question. Kanchan, have you evaluated? Yes. So, what is the method that you use for evaluation? How do you write in a report? Do you write a report? Yes. No, a speaker's evaluation basically. So, how do you write your report? Okay. Okay. But what about when you're writing? You don't get the points collectively together, right? Okay. Okay. Good. Good practice. Okay. So I will give you out a few tips and tricks that I will tell you how I used to evaluate and what went wrong, and then what I improved upon, what is my improved template. Okay. One of the template that most of the people follow is either like you have a sheet. This is purely contest perspective. So you will have 5 minutes to write your speech. Okay. So after the speaker is presented, you'll have 5 more minutes to present your report. I mean, write the report. So you will be given out a blank A4 size sheet. Okay. So whenever you ask, this is one of the tricks that I learned. You can ask for another sheet. Select two sheets. Okay. One sheet, roughly scribble whatever you want, and last one, another sheet, just to pick out those points, and whatever the points you want to include, make it as a final report. Okay, so that you can scribble. Okay, and one vertical and horizontal you can make. You can just fold the paper. Okay, first side commendations, second side recommendations, and leave out a space on bottom and write the summary. Same thing you can do here, positives, negatives, and summary at the end. Okay, I tried both of these methods. This did not work for me, to be very honest, in contest. Before, I used to write in a bullet points, and then like I used to it was very difficult. I used to spend a lot of time on looking at the point which one I have to use, and then circle it out and like star it out. like scribble in all the way possible. Do not ever do that. Okay. So now what method that I use is, whenever a speaker is giving out, I can't like focus on, okay, this is the positive, this is the negative. If it works for you, well and good. But what I usually do is improvised version of bullet points. So I simply mark plus if it's a positive thing and write the example quickly. And right below it, if it's a negative, I just mark negative and write. Okay. This works out really well for me. And it's easier for me to make a final report. So I can see all the pluses, okay, this tick, tick, quick, done. So even before the time is done, you'll have 1 more minute to see if I missed out on something. So always time yourself when you're trying to write evaluation. Okay, when you're trying to give, time yourself from 2 to 3 minutes present. Even while giving and writing evaluation, try and make the habit. Or in a club as well, starts from the club obviously. So time yourself, just put a timer on your phone like for 5 minutes and try to finish the report. If you do not finish it, it's okay, but that's how you can start practicing. Okay. Now moving ahead with the ballot sheet. This is purely contest perspective. I think we are heading towards the contest, right, in a few months. Yeah, yes, it's in August. So simple things, that if you have seen the ballot sheet. Okay, okay. So contest is basically, this is driven throughout uh, entire district. Starts from the club level, area, division, and then district. So evaluation and table topics will not have beyond district. District is the end. Only for international speech contest, one person from the entire district, that are like more than some 120, 200 clubs, and they will be, from them one speaker will be chosen who moves ahead and to the further levels to become the international speech champion. Okay, this is what a contest is. If anybody has any doubts, you can ask. Okay, so moving on with the ballot sheet that we have, very very simple ballot sheet. Okay, so if you see, the first part had the analytical quality, which means the way you analyzed a person, it has 40% of the marks out of 100. Okay, so the way you picked out recommendation, that's what I told you. Instead of picking the common points, if you try to find a different point from others, that's where you will get a good point. Okay, then comes 30%, 30 marks is for recommendations. Okay, very interesting thing to note in the ballot sheet is that there are no points for commendations. That is the reason I told you you have to spend less than 1 minute on commendations. Okay, that's why your recommendation should be in such positive tone that it makes a constructive feedback. Okay, then comes your technique, which has 15 points. And the way it itself says that you're sympathetic, you're sensitive or motivational. Okay, that itself has 15 points. So whenever you're giving recommendation, you have to be really really motivating and very very sympathetic. Okay, last but not the least, I told you why summarization is important, because it holds 15 points. So what common mistake that every evaluator does is, whenever the red card is up, they start summarizing usually. This happens when you do not have practice. Okay, when what happens when you start summarizing after red card is, either you will end up rushing with the summary, or you will be running out of time and you'll be disqualified. These are the two things that can happen if you start summarizing and the red card is up. So even if you think, whenever a yellow card is up, you have had the enough points for recommendations, examples, start summarizing and try to utilize all 3 minutes. Do not end it before 3 minutes. Try to utilize. If you are feeling that you are going to end it soon, try to summarize it in a very proper way and try until at least the red card is reached. Okay, that will hold you a good marks. Okay, and coming to the how many points that you have to present. This is the common question that every evaluator gets in their mind. You can always have 3 and 3s, okay, which means 3 commendations and 3 recommendations. Again, you need to count. So this 3 commendations, one goes in if you're opening with a good adjective and like with a positive tone praising the speaker. One commendation would have already been used there. So try to use 2 commendations, and then in areas of improvement, try to use 3 with supporting example. Do not go beyond 3. If 2 is also fine, completely fine, but try to use 2 to 3 improvements, but not beyond that. After that, it becomes very hectic for the speaker also to take it. If you see in the speaker's perspective, right? Yes, we have time for general evaluation, or we can take up any other day. It's already 8:40, I can see. Okay, so I think that's all from my end. This forum is open for question answers if you have any. Yes. Okay. Correct. Understand. Yes, really good question. There are different methods of evaluation. So you can practice, there is no harm. You can still practice in different methods of evaluation in a club. But in a contest perspective, you can, it is recommended from Toastmasters International that you use sandwich method of evaluation, because it is, because judges will be also specialized in the same manner. So you can try to use that particular method so that it's easier for the judges to give you score and you get a good score. That is very important. Hope that answers. Yes, correct, correct. Thank you, Stanch, for that. That's really what can we approve. That is exactly what a judge's perspective will be. No, definitely not. Not even in club evaluation, not even in contest. It is really not recommended to use what method you're using. I'll tell you why. Because while explaining, you lose out on the time, right? Because you'll have only 3 minutes if you think in that manner, because you need to add 3 points of improvement. So if you start telling what method you're using, judge or the person will already know. See, the speaker will already know that what the sandwich method. But as you evaluate, even if they don't know, their focus should be on what feedback they should get rather than trying to tell what kind of evaluation you will be doing or performing on them. Right? Hope that answers. Yes. Okay. So one example that I already gave you. So this does not come overnight. You need to start practicing. So this usually, if you do not have anything, have a few quotes handy, like one for humorous speech, one for storytelling model. You can have a few quotes like that, so that that is very generic. So even if you do not get any points to open, you can use those quotes like very enthusiastic manner so that you grab the attention in the beginning itself. If not, you try to observe the speaker first. So what kind of person story he's telling, or what kind of model he's telling? Is it humorous? If it's humorous, what points can you pick from those humor? Simple things you can do. Just if you do not get anything, if he has used some humorous point, just pick that humorous point, and you can start with that only. So you know that the audience will laugh because they have laughed before on that, right? So you can do that. Hope that answers. Yes, correct. Yes, the same thing connects to it. That instead of using high adjectives, you can tone it down, but use a positive tone, and you open with a good gratitude, with good note basically, so that you have the audience attention. That's all you have to do. Do not like try to push it. Okay, hope that answers. Yes, you can take 10 to 15 seconds to say that my report is, that's what I told you. Take less than 15 seconds to describe what kind of report. So people should know what is coming towards, because you are consuming 3 minutes, right? So they should be well aware of what you're saying. But do not use like I'm going to use sandwich method. That's a utter waste of time. Rather, you can start saying that it's the areas of excellence, improvement, and the summarization of the report. So these 3 points, if you don't have anything, you keep it as generic. But if you have points, try to make it in a very creative way. For example, for one speech, I remember that I said speaker was speaking about good and bad things about by a marriage or being married. Okay, so I said, let me tell you good points how you had in your marriage. That's how my report. And then like what are the improvements of your marriage and the summary of your marriage. So you can be as creative, but not to offend. There's a thin line, so try to tone it down. This will come by practice only. Try to observe as much as possible and try to note down things. Correct. Yes. So, coming to your asking for in of contest perspective or just a club? Okay. So, club evaluation, it's okay if you focus more on positive, but it's a good practice for contest also. If you're trying to focus on one, then it's a good habit that you have 40 and 60% of 40% of good and 60% of improvement, but in a positive. Okay? Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Uh, this was I have two good memories. One is the club evaluation. So when I gave this particular club evaluation, I had my mentor also competing in the same category. So I was really worried. I had already started preparing from almost a month, that I need to do so and so, and like practiced a lot, took help from many mentors, and apart from this one, this he was my first mentor, and I was worried how I'm ever going to compete with my mentor. Even before a day of contest, I took his advice only to present on stage. But that day, favors on were on my side. Like I beat my mentor. I think he would also be very proud. So that is one good memory that I have. And then move to area. In area, at least one very anxiety attack that you'll have, that a evaluator can have, is the evaluator is going towards the end. So I was the last person to go on stage. That builds up so much anxiety that so many evaluators would have already spoken out on the stage, and they could have spoken your points also. And again, the same speaker giving same topics. That can be one situation because you really wouldn't have heard the others speak, right? So that was a very good. And then when I went on stage, I was so nervous. Then I like took a deep breath, and then once I started, and once I came back, I think Preeti ma'am was also there, Afaq sir was there, Anand, Samir, so many Sitanshu, so many people were there. They started applauding, and like this particular time, like Preeti ma'am had like mentored a lot to me. So she came like, Nikita, you're definitely going to lose this time because you did exceptionally well than others. So that is one good memory that I have. I think we can take one last question. She had one. Yes. Okay, I can do that. Just if you give me a minute, I can just read. I have so many reports. Like if you look at my report, if you have ever have time, you can just come and have a this. Okay, I will give you a good, really good point to support. I'll give you a good example. Hmm. So there was this particular point of audience engagement. Okay, so this particular point, I wanted to convey that she was a very very good speaker. She was very confident, and she was speaking on self esteem. Okay, so I wanted to say that she kept on following one part of the audience. Even if she was moving around, she was like focused on one part. So I just wanted to say, so I said, if I were you, again, I started with simple I, and I could notice that audience followed your lead wherever you went and the way you wanted to present, but still you are only focused on one part of the audience, even with your eyes. Okay, that's how you can frame it better, right? Hope that answers. Yes. We spoke about production. We have to how the body, eye contact, camera is in the context, you don't have the object. Correct. My question is the key focus is on how we observe the content area. Where have Could you repeat the question again? It was not clear. The key example, yes, I was evaluator of structure was right. Okay. Then there might be flaws or some areas where I have to find an evaluation. How do I figure it out? As a evaluator's evaluator, you're trying to say? Yes. As a So you want to find something based. Okay. Okay. So you want to find if there were any transitions or any grammatical error that was there. So this one you'll try to find out the way a speaker speaks, basically. So if a speaker is monotonous without voice modulations, or like there are continuous, there's only one story throughout the end without any breaks. So that's how you'll notice there are no transitions in a story. Even if it's a one story, there should be good transition from one part of the story to another part. So there should be paragraphs in a story, basically a body. That's how you can start slowly observing, and then that's how you can get. Thank you so much. Thank you, Toastmaster Nikita, for your time and the wonderful. Anybody, please. Just small appreciation from DT. Thank you so much.